Liz, and I am back again on Facebook Live. I have not been live on a very long time on Facebook. So, hello, welcome, happy 2023. Decided to just go live here and post this replay on my YouTube channel after the fact. So, if you are joining live, welcome. If you're replay, hashtag replay. I wanted to basically kind of give you some tips and what to avoid in goal setting, looking at 2023, like what do we want to accomplish? What do I want to do? Narrowing in. But there's a lot of mistakes and myths and things that I've come across in my own personal development journey that I can help you basically navigate around. So here to just give you some advice, some tips. First things first, okay? This concept of time, okay? Of like, I have to achieve these big goals and it has to happen in 2023 or else I suck and I'm terrible and, life is horrible. When I decided to do away with the whole idea of putting a timestamp on my goals, I felt such an enormous relief. I felt like I took this huge burden, this weight off of my shoulders. And I learned this idea of not putting a time attached to your goal from Kevin Trudeau. If you've ever heard me talk before, I've mentioned his program, like Life Changing, Your Wish is Your Command. Go and find yourself that program. But at any rate, he was the first person to bring this to my attention. And it made such perfect sense because when you put yourself, you have an idea, you're like, okay, this is my goal. 2023, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by, April 1st. And you put this date on it. Now, what happens is if you're trying and you're working at your goal and you're striving for your goal, and that date comes, okay, now it goes both ways here. Whether you're working towards a goal or whether you're just like saying you're going to do it and then you actually aren't really working towards the goal and you know that you're not working towards the goal, either way, the time when it comes, April 1st, like this is your goal date, you're going to feel bad that you didn't hit the goal, right? You're going to be like, man, I looked at the year and I thought by now I would be in this place and I'm not, and you're stressing, and especially as the date gets closer and closer and you made this sort of goal promise to yourself, it brings unnecessary stress and guilt to you, and it basically makes it much more challenging to achieve your goal. And I really was kind of like hemming and hawing about this idea, like, what do you mean don't put a time frame on my goal? But I decided to try it. So, hey, Tracy, Happy New Year. So like this whole idea of, no time is such an enormous relief. Try it and you'll see what I mean. Now, some people might say, well, wait a minute, Amy. If I don't put a date on my goal, then I can just, drift along and, never get it done because I never put a date on it and I never really held myself accountable. Okay. Well, can you achieve goals by setting dates? Absolutely, you can. But would you rather achieve your goal and feel a sense of like peace and accomplishing and, you're going after it? Or would you rather feel stressed, struggle, straining, this is hard, why isn't this working? Because those two different emotional states, to me, in my experience, I believe separates the people that have a timeline and those who are just like, I'm going to get it done, that's it, period. You don't have to know when it's going to happen. And most of the time, you're going to be way off anyway. Like, realistically, and I say that with a chuckle because to most people this is not realistic. The way I've been able to achieve massive dreams, goals, desires in my life is to completely eliminate time for the reason that it's already done. And I know this sounds weird and it's way out there, but every single goal that I have happily achieved since I learned these techniques, I utilize this strategy. And that strategy is that I do not believe that it hasn't happened. I believe that it's already done. And most goal setting books, audios, coaches, everything out there will tell you to the contrary, okay? That you have to climb the ladder to success, that you have to jump up the mountain, you got to take steps to your goal. And that all sounds well and good. Yeah, interesting, right, Tracy? It all sounds well and good until you're like, I'm not making any progress. I'm really not even moving forward. I'm actually feeling like I'm going backwards. And you start to question, and this is where I was. I was like, if all these books and all these, success principles were really effective, why is it that so many people just don't get it? And I started to open myself up to different teachers, different mentors. And I mentioned Kevin Trudeau. There's been a couple other people that have helped me understand this idea. Wesley Virgin, Rhonda Byrne, Peggy McCall. There's been several people that have come into my life, Joe Vitale, and their work explained it in a way that I was like, oh, that's why it's not working. Because here's the catch, right? So if you're working on this idea, this notion of I need a time, I need a date, then it's telling your subconscious mind, which is what gets things done. Okay. Hey, Teresa, man, all the cool old gang is showing up here. That's awesome. What's up, guys? All of that is going into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is like, you don't believe it's already happened. So you're going to continue to get the same situation and circumstances, which I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that if your goal per se was like, I want to lose 10 pounds by April 1st, and you were like, I'm gonna do it, and you kept putting it like in the future, your subconscious mind reads that as like, yeah, you're gonna do it. It ain't done. And it's not gonna get done because you keep saying, I'm gonna do it. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that people understand what I'm trying to, communicate to you right here is that if you have a goal, and hey mom, if you have a goal and you have a desire and you have a dream and you say, I will, I am gonna do it, I'm doing it, that is not enough to convince your subconscious mind that it's already done. And here's where it gets kind of in the weird zone where people are like, well, then I'm lying to myself. It's not done. I'm not, whatever pounds. I didn't lose the 10 pounds yet. Well, that's okay because you're already lying to yourself by saying, oh, I'm never going to lose this weight. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to get this, diet on track or whatever. Whatever you're telling yourself is lies anyway. We tend to talk to our self-talk. It tends to be very like black and white. I never, this will never work. It's very like, and for a fact that it ain't true, but that's what your self-talk keeps telling you, continuously holding you back, by the way. So basically, throw out the idea of time and move forward, okay? Daily moving forward in the idea that you're already achieved. You already achieved this goal, okay? That completely changes the game because if this were true, if you had already lost, say, this 10 pounds, you would be acting in a completely different way based on, your diet, your exercise, your eating habits, your sleeping habits, your drinking water, cutting out whatever you did cut out. Your actions would be entirely different than if you didn't believe it had already happened. Does that make sense? That you have to think about your goal and the person you would be if it was already done. What that does is once you start thinking that way, you start taking different actions because you're like, well, what would a person who lost those 10 pounds and feels amazing, feels great, fits on all her clothes, what kind of food would she eat? Okay, well, I'm gonna, load up on the produce this week. I'm gonna, make some salads. I'm gonna add some protein, and you know what I mean? Like, you're thinking entirely different because of that. Consciously, you might get on the scale and be like, I didn't lose anything. You know what I mean? And you can, keep track or not keep track. But it doesn't really serve you if you're harsh on yourself. And I want to get into that next, that the goal settings, mistakes, things to avoid, is making yourself feel guilty. Making yourself feel bad has been like the most challenging thing for me to overcome. Okay, I'm gonna share that with you. like I am so hard on myself sometimes that I'm way more like disciplined with my own mental self-talk than I think a lot of people are. And I don't know, maybe it just comes from whatever, I don't know. But if you let that go, if you say, you know what, and feel free to do this in the mirror, and you look at yourself, maybe you're thinking it, maybe you're saying it, but you're like, I love myself as I am. And most women will never get to that point, okay? They think, well, I'll feel better about myself when I lose the 10 pounds, right? Or whatever it might be. I'm going to pause real quick here and let you guys know I'm going to put a link in the chat, or the comments, I should say. And this is just so you guys, if you want to sign up, you can get my live stream notifications, because I know how hard it is to find the notifications from Facebook. You got a million of them. Please excuse the bare bones sign up page. It's just to sign up for the newsletter, no fees or nothing. But I'll send you an email when I go live so you can catch me. So check that comment in below, and I'll actually pin it to the top here. Yeah, there we go. So anyways, making yourself feel guilty, big mistake, big detriment to your goals. I don't care how far off the track. Today's January 3rd. You made your goal January 1st, and you're like, well, crap. I'm already eating junk food. I'm already I missed the gym already on the second day. Whatever it might be. Do not hold yourself in contempt and make yourself feel bad. Because what that does is it keeps you in that environment of just continuous self-sabotage. You're not going to be motivated very much the next day, January 4th. If you messed up on January 3rd and you made yourself feel bad, you're kind of like not going in the right direction, if that makes sense. So don't feel bad if you mess up something towards your goal, you skip something that you were going to do. Just go on with your life in the next day. So let's just say, like, I was going to try to go for this 10 pounds by April 1st. And like I said, here's January 3rd. Maybe I already missed the gym today and ate a big fat cheeseburger or something that I know I shouldn't have had. And I'm starting that downward spiral. Snap yourself out of it, okay? I don't care if you have to slap yourself, whatever. Halt, stop. Kill the self-talk. This is what's going to pull you down, and you're never going to get back up to where you want to be. Stop making yourself feel guilty. Just it doesn't work, right? I think most people, women especially, most people will say that they will perform better. Like maybe you had a job and you got recognition and you got praise, maybe you won an award. You are willing to work so much harder because somebody was like, good job, you did amazing. I am so impressed by you. Then if somebody came in there, your boss, and was like, pull your act together. You are one step away from being fired. How much easier is it to be able to go into your job and work super hard and be like, yeah, this company's great, or whatever it might be, than to have somebody scare you half to death with a threat or ream you out. So do you understand? This is what happens with your own self-talk. So if you actually like pump yourself up and say, you know what, it's okay. Amy, you know, it's okay. We're just gonna go forward. We're not even gonna call it a mistake. We're not even call it like, oh, I messed up. I tripped up on my goal. I know, right, Tracy? I tripped up on my goal. I messed up. Crap. This sucks. I suck. You know what I mean? You just continuously going back down that spiral. And this is why most people give up on their goals halfway through January. You know, maybe there's a few lucky people that continue a couple months into it. But end of 2023, they forgot what the goal was. Because they were just felt so bad about themselves that they never even wanted to think about it. So instead, don't hold yourself guilty. Don't make yourself feel bad. Move on. Part of what holds people back so much from actually getting to where they want to go is they are so busy looking behind them at what they did wrong in the past that they can't move forward and they can't take the next steps ahead. Now, I heard this analogy today. I was listening to one of my mentors, and she said something about, you know, when kids are young and they're learning to ride a bicycle, you're making mistakes, right? Remember when you were a kid and you're trying to learn how to ride a bike, you fell off, you scraped your knee, you dropped the bike, you know, you hit a rock, you stumped, whatever. You made mistakes, right? But you weren't like, man, I suck. I'm just going to give up. I'm never going to learn how to ride a bike, right? You kept going till you got it. And at some point, maybe like, you know, as you go through school, as you go through adolescent years, whatever it is, at some point you made mistakes and people made you feel bad. And so that's what kept holding you back from continuously going towards what you wanted and what you said you were going to do. So there's like a programming going on here. But if you can remember when you were that kid, I remember being 6 years old. I remember dropping the bike. I remember falling in the grass. Like, I didn't care because I was like, I made the decision. And this is key. Made the decision that I was going to learn to ride the bike that night. A 6-year-old. You know, it's incredible how much will and mind power that you have when you're young, and you allow society, programming, you know, teachers, parents, friends, whatever, pull you down. But you are the one that's responsible for you. So you make the decision. So 2023, whatever it is that you're going for, you make the decision. That's it. Done. Okay? Now remember in the beginning I said, don't worry about the time. I don't care if you don't make it happen in 2023. And you shouldn't care either. Because you don't have to worry about the time. And if you missed that part of the video, go back and watch the replay. Teresa said, give yourself grace sometimes. Yeah, exactly. Like, we are so hard on ourselves. And, you know, you look at other people and you say, oh, it's okay, you know, whatever challenges they're going through. And then you look at yourself and you're like, smarten up, you know. And every time, you know, every now and then, like, we do kind of need that kind of talk. But I think that more often than not, especially women, that we are bringing ourselves down. And so that's the reason why we're not even getting to where we want to go, not even close to where we want to go. So don't beat yourself up. So mistake number 1, the time frame. Mistake number 2, don't make yourself feel guilty if you trip up. Number 3, this is a really, I'll just say, I put this into practice and I really came out on the other side like, oh. And this whole idea, number 3, is that you cannot just write your goal down. Yes, there's a lot of books out there to teach this, like, oh, you write your goal down, it's gonna happen. I mean, it's one of many steps that can help you on your way and help you believe in what you need to believe, but it is not the be-all, end-all. And I see too many books that like simplify this and try to say like, oh, all you need to do is write your goals down, and you're gonna do it, you know? And the problem is that's just one little thing in a grand scheme of things, okay, that you can do to achieve your goal. Most people would see success with this if they did the second part. And that is seeing yourself as the goal achieved. Okay? So by that, I mean, when you set a goal, and I mentioned the whole losing weight thing, let's say 10 pounds by April 1st, which we threw out the April 1st, right? We're not doing timeline. 10 pounds. And you said, okay, I'm gonna write it down and it's gonna happen, right? I am whatever pounds, or I have lost 10 pounds. Done. And you never actually see it in your mind's eye. We call this visualizing, imagination, picturing, imaging. If you don't form a very solid, concrete image in your mind, and actually if you add a little video to that, it's even better, then it is not going to stick. So if I just like write stuff down, and they say, oh, feel your goal as you write it. Okay, great. But like, if I don't see myself actually as that person that's 10 pounds less, and I don't formulate that clear image, like throughout your life, your thoughts do create your world, but it's the images and the feeling behind that image. So if you said, okay, all right, you can write it down. I'm not saying don't write it down, but you can write it down and then start to picture what one crystal clear image or like little mini movie can I think about when I picture this goal. So let's say, for example, like you have a wedding to go to and you're like, well, I'm not going to worry about the time. Like, yeah, the wedding has a date, but I'm not going to worry about the time. I'm just going to see myself in size, whatever, 6, wedding, maybe your bridesmaid dress. Fitted, I look beautiful, I'm standing in front of the mirror, I'm looking at myself in front of the mirror, and I feel great, and I look great, and getting compliments. You can have this whole like little mini movie going on. And that's it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to be like this huge, elaborate picturing of it. It's just something that really gets you feeling good about that goal. Like, yeah, like that's the image, that's the picture, right? So anything you can tie to circumstances, that you want to see happen, making that like part of your little mini movie as you picture your goal being done. Maybe, let's get off the weight thing for a minute. Let's say that you want to buy a new house, okay? And you are like, well, I've got some ideas about what kind of house I want. And then you start to look at some pictures, online, you're looking around. And then, you see a few things that you really love, like maybe this one house has amazing ceilings and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful in there. And you see yourself like walking in the house, looking up at the ceilings, maybe you are doing little household activities, but you're like in the picture of this house. That's another example. All right, so just writing the goal down ain't not gonna work. Even the concept of, let me feel good as I write this goal down. What gets energy moving, what actually creates manifestations, creates worlds, is that picture in your mind that you are consciously feeling. Okay, so if you had, let's just say like you're trying to think of like what could you think of when you're picturing your goal, and like let's go back to the weight thing for a minute. Let's say that you were thinking, well, maybe I would feel good if I go to the store and I'm trying on some clothes and like the clothes fit, but that image really just doesn't like light you up. You're just like, that'd be cool. All right, fit my clothes, that's cool. But you keep thinking on it and you're like, maybe I would just feel really good about myself once this goal is achieved, and somebody notices and they say, dang, you look good. Did you lose weight? See the difference there of how you would feel? This is all personal preference. Nobody can be like, hey, this is the image you have to have in order to get your goal. It's going to be totally up to you. and then what's going to light you up, right? And that's a perfect phrase for this, because I know I've had goals where I'm like, yeah, I know I want this thing, right? Maybe it was like a motorcycle or something. I know I want this bike. And I would think about it, and I'd see pictures of it, and I was like, yeah, that'd be cool, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh. And then I see another bike, and maybe it's like a new model, and I'm picturing like, all the stuff I would do to it, and modifications, and I'm like, yeah. There's a difference, right? The pictures. Pictures will create the emotions. The emotions will create the different actions. In the beginning of the live stream, I talked about how you would act totally different if you believed your goal was already done, right? Like with the weight thing. So if you had lost this 10 pounds already, you would be totally doing different actions. You'd be working out, you'd be, shopping for healthy food, picking different things in the cart, whatever it might be. And that goes back to the picture as well. Because when you start to picture, it's like your subconscious just kind of gives you little ideas throughout the day. Sometimes you're not even going to notice that your thinking has changed. For example, there was beginning of 2022, I was wanting to lose a couple of pounds. And I really was like focused on the body fat kind of thing. And I had this picture of like a woman's figure, and she was just wearing like a sports bra, and she had like, her cut abs and everything. And you couldn't even see her face, which was awesome, because it was easier for me to look at this picture and just picture myself, and I had it in my closet. And I swear I never really consciously looked at that picture, but all of a sudden, I'd see it every day and go in the closet, get my clothes. I just started making different decisions, and then at some point there was more of a conscious choice of like, oh yeah, I'm going to try like low carb. I'm going to try like no carbs before 4:00, whatever it might be. And I just started doing different things because subconsciously I was seeing that picture every day. And it was me, and so that's all it took to like, I ended up losing like 12 pounds from 2022 to like now. And actually, it happened faster than that, but just to give that illustration of it's funny how just a picture, a little mental movie can totally change the outcome of your goal. It was not hard. It was not stressful. There was a time where I got a little bit of, I was trying keto initially, and I got like, they call it the keto flu, and I felt bad for a couple of days. And then I just slowly brought a little bit of carbs into my diet, and that was good. And I was like, well, not hard, right? And if you can think of your goal as like already done, you wouldn't think it was hard because it's already done, right? And I think if you can kind of get yourself in that mindset of just like, no timelines, I'm not going to make myself feel guilty, and I'm going to create the mental image beyond just goal writing and talking about it, creating that picture. That's really just 3 things to focus on that'll get you so far ahead on that path where it is already done. You'll be looking back and be like, oh yeah, I did it. Dang, I'm good, right? It just becomes like that because you naturally have already convinced yourself. And again, it sounds weird. It sounds like you're lying to yourself. You're like, well, I didn't lose the pounds yet, or I didn't get this thing done I said I was going to do. But you're coming from a different place now. And that place is mentally, you need to put yourself as, it's already done. Oh, well, okay. So what am I doing on, now? Like, what did I do to get to this point? Or what is different now that it's already done? And all of a sudden, too, you'll feel better every day. As you go through your day, you're like, I don't have to worry because it's already done. You put that picture there. That's what I do. Whenever it's like, I'm going throughout my day, whatever, I think about things and I'm like, man. And I catch myself, thinking that it's not done, basically. I remind myself, no. This other world that I'm consciously seeing around me is results of past thinking. My current thinking is creating my future. So I can control that, right? I can control what I'm focused on. If I'm focused on it already being done, hello, it happens way faster. Okay? Way, way faster. And most, like, law of attraction, manifestation, whatever, coaches, gurus, teachers, they don't really give, like, specifics, and they don't even like to talk about how to make things happen faster, right? Because they don't really know, a lot of them. And I think a lot of people teach on this stuff without having real world experience to back it up with. They read a lot of books, go to a lot of seminars, that kind of thing, but real world, not so much. Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, she said good point. So any questions, any help, if you have, like, you know, you're trying to even structure a goal and you're like, I got some ideas, you know, not even sure exactly what to focus on. By the way, in terms of focus, I would say that you pick the most important goal, the one that really would change a lot of things in your life. Focus on that. I kind of got away from this whole idea of, like, write 10 goals for the next year, write 25. Like, it is very hard to focus, first of all, on one goal, let alone 10, 20, 50 goals or whatever. You can have, like, intentions, you know, like one of my intentions is to go snowboarding this winter in the mountains somewhere west. That's an intention, you know, but, like, goals, picking, like, one specific thing that would ultimately change many other things in your life. That's the one to focus on. So only you know, really know. But if you have any, you know, you're just kind of stuck or whatever, feel free to comment. And even the replay, if you guys want to share. I know it's a very personal thing. That's another thing, too. If anybody's wondering, should I share my goals? I think you have to be very, very careful because some people can put into your head the idea that you cannot do it. And they might be doing it just with love and like, no, don't set that goal because I set that goal and I failed and, you know, like, my life was terrible, that whatever. Like, they might be trying to help you, friends, family, whatever it might be. And yeah, thank you, Teresa. Whatever it might be, you're coming to people, you know, and you're telling people that have a whole other history of baggage themselves, right? And you got to look and kind of discern, has this person really achieved anything noteworthy? Do they, like, actually set goals and achieve them? Do they get what they want in life? Do they actually achieve their desires? Are they happy? You know, kind of asking yourself those questions before you share whatever your goal is. Because the worst thing you could do is share with somebody that you care about and they kind of just make just a little comment. Just a little, yeah, that's a good one. You know? And that's all it takes to throw you off the track. That's all it takes. Because inside you're going to be like, oh, well, maybe my goal's too big. Like, I don't know. They don't think it's achievable. They don't think I can lose 25 pounds, you know, whatever it might be. And that little snide remark is all it takes. So that's why I say pretty much don't share your goals with anybody. Now, I feel like on this stream, if you do share openly and you want some suggestions and tips, I will not mock your goal for sure. And I doubt any of my followers would either. So, safe haven. In fact, I think it's been in my experience that it's easier sometimes to talk this kind of stuff out with people that you don't know because they're more likely to actually support you. And by support, you know, I mean just like cheer you on and everything. Just it's sometimes, you know, even good friends are just gonna bring you back down and it's gonna suck. And you don't want to start out 2023 already feeling like, well, dang. Hey, Vince. Vince says, my goal is 10K a month consistently and to move out. Awesome. Now, let me ask you this, Vince. do you have like a specific picture of what your life would look like now that, okay, this is the kind of language you got to talk to yourself, by the way. Now that I am earning $10,000 a month and I'm on my own. Like, do you have an image of that? Are you like living in an apartment? Are you living by yourself? You know, what's your place look like? Where are you living? Like, do you move towns, states, whatever? Because this is very important. You got the number, 10K a month. That's awesome. Having a specific number, I think, is more beneficial than to just say, oh, I want to make more money, or I want to make enough to quit my job. That's not really going to motivate, right? So having the 10K a month, cool, okay. There's a couple of things I'm sort of just wondering. One, has this been a goal for a long time? And I want to address that too in a moment. Vincent's, yes, living in an apartment in Centerville, Virginia. Oh, I know what that is. Or close at first, then to somewhere outside of Virginia. Okay, well, now let me ask you this, Vince. You want to live for a little bit, still in Virginia, and then move out. Is that really what you want, though? Is there a reason that you would stay in Virginia instead of just like, well, I'm making 10K a month, peace out, I'm out of here. I'm going to wherever state. Or is that just, part of the plan? Like, I still want to, Virginia's cool, I still want to stay here, whatever. Or do you really, really want to go outside of Virginia? Because what I would suggest, if that was true, if you really, really didn't want to be there, you really, really wanted to go somewhere else, just focus on that. You don't have to, like, plan the steps along the way. Like, oh, well, I'm going to move here, and then I'm going to move here, and then eventually I'm going to get there. So, okay, it's been a goal a long time. Okay. So what's helped me with that? Small step. Okay. What's helped me with this whole, like, getting somewhere with my goal is I have to kind of look back and say, you know what? If I've had this particular goal, this dream, this desire. Personally, I like to call them dreams, but that sounds a little lofty to some people. If I had this dream for a long time and I'm not, like, really getting it, I'm not there, I'm not really that much closer to it, try to adjust that goal, that dream. Whether it's the amount of money or the idea of, like, whatever it is you're trying to do, just, being on my own. Like, I have plenty of money to be on my own. Sometimes putting, like, it's kind of funny because I told you to be specific, but sometimes putting a dollar figure can hold you back. By that, I mean your subconscious mind is like, yeah, but Vince, you've only ever earned like $4,000 a month max. So you ain't gonna get to 10 grand a month. Like, keep dreaming, Your subconscious mind is going to pick up on that emotion, feeling like you're not at the belief level, if that makes sense. I remember wanting to make just gobs of, monthly money. And it just was like, I am nowhere near close to this. And it got very discouraging, very disheartening. And I was like, this isn't right. This doesn't feel like I'm making progress. So I listened to my good buddy, Kevin Trudeau. Your wish is your command. And he was like, most goal books will not tell you this. They'll tell you like, oh, set these huge, amazing goals. And I'm not saying like 10K a month is huge and, way out there. Of course it's attainable. But if you yourself have not fully convinced you that you've already done it, you might want to just slightly alter that goal. Like, let's say, for example, you knew you could get on your own making $7,000 a month, and you'd have money for all your bills, you'd be good. And maybe like, actual month to month, you've never made more than, we'll just go back to $4,000. Okay. So that leap from $4,000 to $7,000 is that much smaller than $4,000 to $10,000. So it's going to be easier to convince yourself that it's already done if it's smaller and more believable. And again, most goal books, this is what Kevin Trudeau says, most goal books are going to not teach you this. And people wonder why they set these huge goals and they never happen. 10 years down the line, you're like, well, I never made that money I said I was going to make. And I never got the amazing business I was going to do, and, I never traveled around the world in 80 days or, whatever. You set goals that sounded good. And by all means, some people can set these kind of goals and they are like, that's it, done, already did it. And it happens for them because their belief is there. But this is where it becomes personalized, where it's like, what is your actual level of belief? And I'm not saying you won't believe it one day, but you have to kind of like meet yourself in the middle, if that makes sense. So, and you said it's a big step outside of Virginia. Okay. So very good stuff here, Vince. Basically, you're telling me that in order for your dreams to be fulfilled, that you'd have to earn X amount of dollars. You'd first have to live in Virginia so you could maybe stack up a little bit. And then you'd have a little extra and you could move out of state, right? So what that says is that like you're focused on the how. You're focused on, well, I got to do this first, then I got to do this, and this is how it's going to go, and I think I'm going to do it with this business and all that, steps. Don't worry about steps. I should have probably put this in the whole, 3 mistakes thing. But basically, worrying about the how, it's not your problem. Be honest, it is not your problem. I know it's very tough, especially being an entrepreneur, because you're like, well, I'm responsible. I got to make it happen. When it comes to the goal setting and the actual, there's work involved by all means. But the actual achievement, the actual manifestation, you are just not going to know, buddy. You're just not going to know the how. Like, when things happen for you and you do meet that belief level and your goal does happen for you, and it's already happened, right? You're going to look back and you're going to be like, what in the world? Like, I never saw this coming, right? Like, who knows what the universe has in play for you? Your job is to set the goal, set the dream, feel it, picture it, done. Belief, right? It's already done. And then just receive it. Ask, believe, receive. I've got a book on my shelf. Fantastic book. Ask, Believe, and Receive by Jerry Nestor Hicks. That's your job. The first two. Asking the universe for what you want. Believing, we talked about how to do that. And then just allowing it to come in where you're not stressed about the time. There's no in between steps. There's no, I got to achieve a couple of different things before I can get there. Quantum leaps happen every day. Okay. I actually learned about quantum leaps from Bob Proctor. God rest his soul. He's been gone almost a year. He talked about there's a notion that most people have that you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, up the success ladder. A, B, C, D, E. And he was like, no, really, you could jump from A to F, A to, W. It's going to depend on where your awareness is, where you are in this whole, figuring things out journey, right? And if you can just be in that goal, what really does it feel like, Vince, now that We're going to bring your goal down just a little bit, because I think this will help you feel it. What does it feel like now that I'm earning $7,000 a month, I'm on my own, and let's just say you want to go to Colorado. I'm living in Colorado. I'm in this amazing place. Maybe you got a nice apartment out there or something. I'm looking at the freaking mountains. I'm doing my little online thing, and I only got I work an hour a day, and I can make this money, and it's so easy. It just comes to me. You know what I mean? How does that really feel? And I'm just giving you a scenario. Yours is probably completely different of what you really want. But that's the key. Focus on what you really want. Don't focus on the steps. Don't focus on I think I got to do these other things to make it happen. And then I get to my goal. And eventually down the line, I'm going to have this $10,000 a month. Don't worry about all that stuff. I'm not going to, because it's so crazy. I'm not even going to say where I'm increasing my beliefs to right now, but yeah, it's out there. And I'm working and that's another thing too, just verbally sharing your goals. You have to be so convinced of what you want that if you did decide to share them, somebody could say, "Ha, you're an idiot. That's never going to happen." And you'd be like, "It's already done." You know what I mean? Like, that's how convinced you have to be. And all of this can seem hard or it can seem easy. That's your decision too. You can be like, well, dang, I got all these steps to take. I got all this stuff to put into play. No, it don't have to be hard. But Vince, thank you for sharing, for just opening up on this live stream. Y'all, give some likes to Vince. Like, like his comments here. Throw some likes on this video so more people will see it, because I really am opening the doors here to the mistakes that hold people back, that hold you back from actually getting what you want in life. When I look back at the last couple of years, and 2022 was a year of massive change for me, and I'll share that in a future video, but when I look back, I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, that's literally how I feel sometimes. And I've used all these things that I'm telling you about with success. And when things didn't work out, we'll talk about that on a future video. When I had a goal, I had a dream, I had a desire, and that sucker never came, sometimes it was for the best. You don't know what you don't know sometimes, okay? So don't get hooked on this specific goal must happen or I'm gonna die, right? We'll talk more again. I got loads to talk about here. I'm gonna set up a schedule for myself, y'all. I think I'm gonna do lives like 3 days a week. So if that sounds good to you and you want to be notified, because I'm probably going to be just doing them on Facebook and then I'll post them on YouTube as a replay. So if you want to be live, present, here for it, there's a link in the comments where you can sign up and just get on the newsletter so you get the notifications. I'll send an email, be like, hey, I'm live, come join me, here's the link. So if that's something you're interested, check it out. But yeah, I will be live probably... Being that it's Tuesday, it kind of threw me for a loop here because I'm thinking it's Monday. I'll probably be live again on Friday. I'll probably do 2 days this week. But if you get on the list here, sign up, I'll email you for sure. Probably around the same time, 12, 1 o'clock-ish. Central, what am I talking about? Eastern time, 12 or 1, somewhere in there. So... leave a like on the video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate the interactions. Thanks, Vince, for sharing your story. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.